Hey there, friends. Welcome to today's devotional. We're diving into Romans 8, a passage that talks about finding peace through the Spirit. Now, I know it might sound a bit complex, but don't worry, we'll break it down to a level that everyone can understand. Romans 8, 5-8 states this: Those who are dominated by the sinful nature think about sinful things, but those who are controlled by the Holy Spirit think about things that please the Spirit. So letting your sinful nature control your mind leads to death, but letting the Spirit control your mind leads to life and peace. For the sinful nature is always hostile to God. It never did obey God's law, and it never will. That's why those who are still under the control of their sinful nature can never please God. So the Apostle Paul is telling us that the way we think really matters. If we focus on our own desires and things that pull us away from God, it leads to trouble. But if we set our minds on what the Spirit wants, it brings us closer to God and fills us with peace. Paul also tells us that a mind focused on selfish things can lead to all sorts of problems. It's like being in the dark and not knowing where to go. But when we let the Holy Spirit guide our thoughts, it brings us life and peace. It's like having a light that shows us the right path. Now, verse 7 might sound a little confusing, but bear with me. Paul explains that when our minds are against God and His ways, it creates a barrier between us and Him. It's like trying to walk through a wall. It just doesn't work. But when we open our hearts to God's wisdom, we find the peace that our souls long for. Lastly, we are reminded that living by our own desires separates us from God. It's like being far away from home. But when we choose to follow the Spirit's guidance, we become closer to God. And that's where we find true belonging and peace. So my friends, what can we take away from these verses? It's all about choosing to let the Spirit guide our thoughts and actions. When we focus on God's ways and let go of selfish desires, we find a deep sense of peace that only He can provide. Let's strive to have minds that are open to the Spirit's leading and experience the wonderful peace that comes from being close to God. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you next time.